Okay, so this is the second half of the SLIA video. So we left off just looking at the example, sorry one sec, the example IA about Woolworths. So we're going to just look through the rest of the criterion here and make sure you cover it. So the first criterion that we were looking at there was, we'll go back up, the supporting documents. So 4 marks out of 4 for the supporting documents are relevant, sufficient in depth, and provide a range of ideas and views, which is what I talked about in the first video. And then the second criterion is the application of business tools, techniques, and theory. So for 6 marks out of 6, there is a broad and appropriate selection of business tools, techniques, and theory, and these are skillfully applied. So basically, in the Woolworths example, they used, let's have a look, SWOT analysis, ratio analysis, because they were looking at a lot of accounts and why their finance was so poor, and a Boston matrix. So looking at 4 areas of theory there. Okay, now 4 is enough for an SLIA. It's difficult to get any more in 1,500 words. So if you can pick 4 that are relevant, now a SWOT analysis is a nice one to do because it's obviously going to look at the strengths and weaknesses of the company, and that'll help you say, with most of your questions, it seems to be, has their growth strategy been a success or not, or will it be successful or not? So you can look at maybe the opportunities and threats as well. How much of an influence will they be on whether it will be a successful growth strategy or not? And also you can look at a Boston matrix maybe if you're looking at a product that a business has introduced. But there are other things you could look at. ANSOS matrix, that helps you look at how risky the growth strategy was. What else can we look at? Maybe any stakeholder conflict, any problems between stakeholders that might have arisen as a result of the introduction of a new growth strategy that you're looking at. So basically, you might do a pest analysis as well to look at the external factors and how strong they were in influencing how successful the business was in their growth strategy. There's many different theories that you can look at, and you don't want to look at any more than 4, but you want to make sure they're relevant and make sure that you skillfully apply them so they are used at the right time. So you mix them in, you intertwine them with your analysis. So just like here in this example, they use the ratios to help them look at what has happened to the company. They use the SWOT analysis in a relevant manner, in sense that everything they have looked at, or almost every point they have made in the SWOT analysis, is backed up by research. So they got this from research. It's not just their own opinion. So it's been very skillfully applied. Every point makes close sense to the particular company, Woolworths. And then here, so they bring in some more illustrative material, some more pie charts. This is from their primary research, asking customers their opinion on the company. And it says Woolworths has a diverse product portfolio, meaning the store is targeting a large variety of potential customers. So you see here they're using constantly using like technical words like product portfolio, diverse. We look at diversification, don't we, with ANSOS matrix. USPs. They have no clear purpose to consumers. No USPs, unique selling points, means there is nothing unique about what Woolworths sells. Therefore, is no reason why customers will not go somewhere else to purchase what they want. And you see here how they have referenced the research results from supporting document number 3. or you might put appendix number 3, Woolworths survey. And if we go to the back in a minute, we will see that all of the supporting documents are there. Looking at Woolworths product portfolio, we can see it contains many dogs. The stars that it does held are from 2. I think that's the reference to. So again, they're using the Boston Matrix. It would be better if they actually referenced where they're getting the idea of the Boston Matrix, but at least they are linking in the theory in a relevant manner, okay, as they are analyzing. So here they've brought in the Boston Matrix, and each of their points is quoted and relevant and researched. This is all from the annual report. Okay, so they've taken the research from the annual report that the company publishes to build this Boston Matrix to see where they feel the products that Woolworths sells are in the matrix, and this can help analyze the question as to what caused the problem of the company going into administration. So again, they're constantly mixing in sources from the primary research, from the questionnaires, and from Boston Matrix, and from the other research that they've done. They've put here, supermarkets are able to provide these goods for much cheaper as they benefit from economies of scale. Economies of scale, again, another term. They should reference this to where they got the term, but again, they're mixing in the theory in a relevant manner as they go through. Any more theory here? Not so much theory, but they've got a lot of technical terms. Looking at USP, competition, sales, cash flow, suppliers, credit. So they're using a lot of technical business terms as they go through. More graphical data. So if we go back to the assessment criteria, and they have shown a broad and an appropriate selection of business tools, techniques, and theory, and they are skillfully applying these throughout their answer. The next one, analysis and synthesis of data. To get 6 out of 6, there is appropriate selection of data, which they have done. So they haven't just chosen every answer to the survey and all of the information that they gained. They picked out particular bits of the annual report. They picked out particular answers that were most relevant to helping them answer the question from the survey. They picked out particular points from articles and analyzed them well. Okay, so talked about what it meant for the company, where it showed the company was being unsuccessful. There is coherent integration of ideas. That means they are constantly using the ideas and the sources to good effect, and they're constantly bringing in good business terminology as they try and analyze their answer. Okay, and then the conclusions, very easy to get 3 out of 3 here. The conclusions are consistent with the evidence presented and answer the commentary question. So all you need to make sure you do is to build an argument for and against, okay, or to build an argument to constantly try and answer the question in the IA. And then when you conclude, just make sure your conclusion is based on all of the information in your analysis. Okay, so there is no new information being brought into the conclusion. You're just basing your final summary on the arguments that you've presented above in the IA, and that you answer the commentary question. So you actually say, like for example, most of you are looking at the growth strategies. Overall, I would say the growth strategy has been was unsuccessful in the short term, but overall looks to be a success in the long term because of these main factors, or this main factor that I looked at in the IA. So if we go back, so here, conclusion. So in conclusion, as a consequence of their poor product portfolio, intense competition, and decreases in consumer spending, so all of these 3 points were gained and were argued and were evidenced above in the IA. Woolworths was forced to employ too many long-term liabilities. Again, this was referenced above. They talked about this above. Even after the employment of new capital, problems continued. Therefore, Woolworths' cash flow became a major problem, which I talked about on the previous page, as they had to meet huge debt repayments with no increased inflows. Woolworths had to prioritize debt repayments, however, with added pressures on cash flow, such as rent, employees' wages, new stock purchases. This was hard to do. Combining these factors meant debts could not be repaid, and Woolworths had no other option but to enter administration. So basically, they're summing up the main factors that they looked at above that caused the problem that is in the question. Okay, and so they're answering the question: what caused Woolworths to go into administration? Well, here are the main factors here. So that's what you want to try and do in the conclusion. Make sure you answer the question and make sure there's no new information. Make sure your answering of the question, your summary, is summing up from the information you've brought in the analysis above that is evidenced to the sources of information. And then you see here the evaluation. To get 3 out of 3, there is evidence of evaluation and judgments are substantiated. So basically they are backed up. Any judgments you make are backed up by information that you have used in the IA, that you have referenced to the sources of information that you've got. Critical and reflective thinking occurs in the commentary. So you're constantly criticizing and thinking about, the reliability of your sources. Okay, so you're reflecting on the research that you did and how reliable it is. So if you look at here, the administration may have been unavoidable. Looking at the nature of the supporting documents, data may have been biased. Articles will have influenced the SWOT analysis. Because of Woolworth's situation, the articles are highlighting the weaknesses and threats, and so there are not as many opportunities and threats. And also here the financial ratios may be misleading. They also include some profitable parts of the company. So if we're just focusing on Woolworths as a retail outlet, it's also including some positive figures from other companies, so the ratios are a bit misleading. So it's talking about how reliable is the data that they used. They're being critical about it. And then the bibliography, okay, listen them the correct format, all of the sources that they used. All right, so the name of the article, date of the article, author, the website link, if there's a website. Okay, and below the bibliography, you want to reprint all of the sources of information that you have used and highlight the relevant bits that you referred to in the main part of the analysis. So what I'll do is I'll upload this this sample IA, which actually got 25 out of 25. When it was remoderated, it got 23. The referencing wasn't exceptional. The bibliography was very good, but they should have referenced more throughout the IA. What else do we have? The final criterion. Presentation. So the commentary is well organized and structured with consistent use of appropriate business terminology, as we just talked about earlier on in the video. Sources are appropriately referenced and an appropriate bibliography is provided. So you want to be footnoting your references to the sources in the appendix, the 5 sources that you used, all the way through, or if you use theory, make sure you footnote reference to the textbook or wherever you got the idea of the theory from. If we quickly look at the checklist, so if you look through the checklist again, as you do in the IA, it basically, the checklist links to the marking criteria. So make sure you can check off all of these when you finish in your IA, and then you'll know you've done a good job with the first draft. And that's it. I'm going to get cut off in 10 seconds. So hopefully this 2-part video on the example IA that I'm going to upload will help you, and make sure you follow the checklist. Goodbye.